last half hour of our Friday show here at the platform. We do a segment called Friday Fun Forum. Well, we try all the Fun Friday Forum. Well, we'll land on it somewhere. And we're joined by a special guest. Very excited that tonight, is an old mate of mine, and you know who he is Miles Davis. Hello, my old China.
Yeah, how's it going, Leah, my old mate? Long time no chat.
Miles, you know what I was so excited about? I'm so happy that you said yes and you're available because, and I've been saying it when I came on at 4, is that you and I, the last time we were together on the airwaves, we got into trouble.
Yeah, no, we did. And do you know something? It's that sort of thing's really rankled me for a long time. Now, in the normal course of events, I would never have apologised for what we did. We did absolutely nothing wrong, and we were a victim of the times where the guy who was our boss was a friend of mine anyway, and I didn't want him getting into trouble. But also, I just left another radio station to go over there. There was nowhere else to go, and me being unemployed till now proves there was nowhere else to go.
Oh, no.
And we did the right thing by him. But the reality is, a couple of months later, if that, a month later, we were all gone anyway, and they didn't give a monkeys. And what really got me about it was, it displayed the almost terrorist-like actions now of this bizarre trans movement. It's almost like, 50% of the world must be trans, and if you don't listen to what they say, without question, you can't debate anything, you can't talk to them about it, they just label you and get quite vicious. You and I both got those emails from colleagues of ours that, I'd known one of them for years. I used to be on television with her all the time, and this really vile, probably messages that if we'd have gone to HR, they could have been done for it. Such was the offensive nature of them. But we did the right thing, and it ended up being a waste of time. And the likes of, I think Sean had a great interview with Graham Linehan, the old, he wrote Father Ted and the IT crowd.
Was fantastic.
And he's been getting into a lot of trouble about this trans thing, but he's become almost like not a martyr to it, but he's a campaigner against the ridiculous sort of, nasty side of it. No one gives them, I don't care what anyone is. If they want to be like that, live them, and I'll support them in it. But I'm not going to go around, bastardising pronouns all over the place, and I'm not going to call pregnant women pregnant people just in case there might be a trans woman, trans man that happens to be pregnant. Anyway, now that I've got off my chest,
Mark, that was so wonderful.
What are your thoughts on it?
No, I thought that was wonderful. You summed it up perfectly. You were better. I have to admit, you were better at it than I was because when we had the meeting, this is almost like a therapy, everyone listening, for Miles and myself. When we did get hauled in and had our asses handed to us from HR, and we had to do that apology the next day. I just didn't want to be there, Mark. I just couldn't even think. And to me, I felt like it was salt in the wound that it was turned around that we had to write it. So HR didn't even write it for us, or management didn't write it for us. Miles and I had to come up with it, right? And I was fighting my instinct to just walk out because I didn't want to apologise. I'd done nothing wrong. And I must thank you.
Absolutely nothing wrong.
No, and I must thank you because you were more... I just shut up because I've learnt that when Leah doesn't shut up and lets the mist come across, I would have flipped tables and thrown chairs, which I had always sat quietly. But you were great because you went, all right, okay, let's say something like this. So you basically wrote it, and I remember sitting there going, thank God he's here, because I went blank. I didn't know how to apologise for something I shouldn't apologise for.
That you could, and do you know something as well? And I remember noticing it in you, and we spoke afterwards as well. You were quite hurt by the fact that you'd been challenged. When Dallas was absolutely apoplectic, wasn't he? He was. This is the worst thing I've ever heard of race. I was sitting in the car in Wellington. You were actually there face to face with him. I sat in the car in Wellington. I was looking at him, and I deliberately didn't put my camera on. I just did the audio on there. I could see him, but they couldn't see me. And I looked at him and I thought, are you serious? How long have you been in radio? That's the worst thing you've ever heard. It's absolutely nothing. And this is a guy that's encouraged you to be brave and to challenge things and to do it. And all we've done was say, when am I going to use a pronoun? If I'm talking to you, Leah, I'll call you Leah or I'll call you. I'm not going to say, he, she, they, them, or whatever. It's ridiculous. And, and I remember thinking at the time, that this is just like, and he obviously felt the squeeze from those two that went in and, psychotically, and he thought, my God, in this day and age of the rainbow tick, I'm going to get into real trouble. He reacted like that. The next day, he was more on our side.
Yeah. It was just the most craziest time in my, quite long career that I felt like I was living. I felt like I was outside of my body looking in going, this cannot be happening. This is so bizarre. We are being gaslit. We are being thrown under the bus. We are being, rolled out to be dragged through the streets. Shame, and over about 4 people who internally in the company had a meltdown because it upset them, but nobody else. Our listeners didn't care. I know it was again.
No one, and the manager didn't really care about it. To finally say the final thing, and I'm sure you and I both agree on this, one good thing coming out of Today FM suddenly closing down like that without any warning was that you and I didn't have to do the rainbow tick training.
That is so true. I mean, look, it was that was quite a big move. Shut a station down so we don't do rainbow training, but hey, we did it.
We had to do it.
We had to do it. All right, my love. Let's go back over some of the biggest stories over the week, and I think one of the big ones too was David Seymour announcing the new government's lunch. Free lunches in schools, replacing the previous government's very costly, hefty one. He reckons that they can save $107 million and feed more kids. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I'm not going to question the maths of it. They come up with a figure, or they've got the boffins that come up with those figures. If they can save money, brilliant. I'm glad that he's gone a sort of a conciliatory way, because it would have been quite easy for him to turn around and say, no, we're going to save the whole 400 odd million and just, chop it right back and not do it at all. And it's up to the individual to sort their kids out and blah, blah, blah. But he didn't. And I was really pleased that he did that. The interesting thing, though, is you see the Greens and the left going on, the nutritional value and the thing, and we've got to give them sushi and all these other different things on there. Yeah. And the thing is that most people, and they said, most people eat sandwiches. Well, if they're eating sandwiches, what's wrong with the other kids who, having free food in there with them eating sandwiches? I can't see the problem with that. And the reality is, the kids that get those sandwiches are likely to eat them. The ones that get given by their parents never eat them. And trust me, I know that from experience. They either chuck them away in the bin or they forget, and then you find these mouldy things or maggots growing out of them. And I'm sure all the parents listening have been through that experience. But it's great. Some kids don't get fed because their parents just don't give a monkeys and they're too busy spending it on drugs or fags or whatever. But a lot of them are there because times are really tough. Yeah. And I can't remember the cost of living increasing as much as it's done in my lifetime as it's done over the last 3 or 4 years. So it is tough, and I'm glad that they've shown a bit of compassion on the ACT Party and sort of done a bit of a compromise, still saved money, but still provided food for those in need.
When we talked about lunches, and I kind of reminisced about what I used to have at school, and had quite a few good callers saying, I remember the days we got pies at and we could go to the tuck shop. In the UK you always had a like a canteen, didn't you? Like a hot lunch. Was that what you grew up?